Hey everybody, I'm Richard, this is Lap of the World, and today we're going to explore what could have been with 5 road courses that almost got built in the US. If you've been following the channel, you may have seen a video we did last month talking about 6 new tracks that are currently in development in North America. And we've gotten a lot of questions on that video asking if any of those tracks or any of those projects are going to make it past just being an outline in the dirt in some cases. And those are valid questions because the unfortunate reality of racetrack building is that failure is definitely an option. So today we are going to look at 5 such failures, some that made it as far as being paved and almost ready to open, others that were at that outline in the dirt stage, and others that just had a plot of land and some pretty pictures, but none of which made it across the finish line. We're kicking this list off in northern Kentucky with probably the closest any track project has gotten to reality without actually making it to an official opening day. Look just a bit north along I-71 from the Kentucky Speedway Oval, and as seen from space, you could easily be forgiven for mistaking this for a completed circuit. In fact, you can find videos on YouTube of people driving preview laps, celebrity appearances, and articles in major magazines, somewhat assuming the seemingly inevitable opening of Bluegrass Motorsports Park. To the extent of my research, the tarmac is still there, all 2.5 miles and 17 turns of it. The layout was done by Derek Daly of F1, IndyCar, and IMSA fame and included a 3,200-foot straight, banked turns, and over 150 feet of elevation change. The Bluegrass project began in 2007 with Brad Popple at the helm and was originally pitched as a country club for car enthusiasts with a groundbreaking in 2008 and progress underway shortly thereafter. Later that year, the use case had pivoted away from exclusivity and towards serving the broader grassroots community as indicated in the news and across several regional car club forums at the time. This was around the same time that they were doing those preview drives, and much to my chagrin, I had the opportunity to go to one of those and passed it up due to some other conflict. Sadly, while Bluegrass may have made it to Q3 in F1 qualifying terms, they were never able to actually start the race. I don't know the whole story, but I've read some articles about permitting issues causing delays, and then it sounds like the project just ran out of funding as the 2008 financial crisis deepened. It almost got a second chance with a regional chapter of the SCCA expressing interest in the property when it came up for auction in 2013, but by then it seems like local opposition had led to draconian noise limits that would have made racing there a non-starter. Thus, Bluegrass Motorsports Park fell just one layer of tarmac and a little luck shy of giving Kentucky its first road course at the time and providing Cincinnati area enthusiasts with a home track. From Cincinnati now to just north of Syracuse, New York, we look to the shores of Lake Oneida for the now sadly and pretty officially dead dream of Central New York Raceway Park. CNYRP, as we'll call it, was first proposed by racing entrepreneur Glenn Donnelly in 2011, and property was purchased just west of I-81 in Brewerton, New York for development. Set to include a 5/8 mile synthetic dirt track, a 2.2 mile 15-turn road course, and even a drag strip in some versions of the site plan, CNYRP was to also have significant spectator infrastructure with 15,000 seats, 2,000 of which would be covered, indoor concessions, NASCAR-style garages, and other amenities to extend the operation around seasonal weather. Site work and grading got underway in 2015 with some sponsors already lined up for an opening, and the promised draw of Super Dirt Week committing to the track as its host for the 2016 event. Unfortunately, it seems, as is often the case, that the project just ran out of money. I found some articles suggesting balking or red tape around some promised government grants without which the private financing to raise the needed $17 million just didn't happen. It seems like there was still hope for this one as recently as fall of 2024, with locals seeking to raise money to continue the project, but as of November it appeared to be officially for sale, with potential buyers including a silicon chip manufacturer. We've covered Mankato Motorsports Park on the channel before when it was still on the drawing board with hopes of completion. Just south of Minneapolis, Minnesota, in Eagle Lake, MMP had big plans for a hybrid membership model that still allowed for club use, similar to what we see currently at G2 or Podium Club, to name a few that we've been to. The proposal centered around a 3-mile, 17-turn track that would have been able to split into east and west courses to allow multiple events. The track would have been surrounded by private car condos, villas, shops, a clubhouse, as well as other member and public venues. We noted in 2022 that it had run into some local resistance and government red tape, but that appears to have been an understatement, with a consortium of locals organizing as CAMP, Citizens Against Motorsports Park, who not only filed suit to block progress but also sued the town of Eagle Lake itself to force them to require a more extensive environmental study that would have delayed the project by years and ballooned the cost significantly. After losing an appeal in 2023 and some of the land for the proposed project having been bought out from under them by members of camp, the MMP team elected to throw in the towel, and so Minneapolis remains a pretty large market without a home track outside of DCTC or claiming Brainerd a few hours north. Heading somewhat closer to home for us, we find the site that could have been the Nashville Motorsports Enclave. Right next door to Castle Gwen, the somewhat famous Ren Fair venue near Murfreesboro, the Enclave was originally billed as a, quote, multifaceted automotive campus for enthusiasts. The property was massive, and the concept renderings were pretty sexy, with over 5 miles of racetrack butting up against the 840 Beltway. Perhaps taking inspiration from its medieval replica neighbor, the stone-clad architectural style was intended to provide a low profile for the proposed garage condos, clubhouses, and other installations, to keep things classy. The full list of amenities was impressive and included a kart track, restaurants, an amphitheater, conference center, light commercial space, and even a wedding chapel. In spite of efforts to objection handle by calling it a driving track as opposed to a race track, local opposition threw up repeated delays amid concerns about noise, traffic, and likely misguided worries about crowds going to and from a, quote, big racetrack. This is pretty unfortunate as the project likely had the legs and funding to get across the finish line. In 2023, fed up with these setbacks, the developers basically took their ball and went to Tampa, where the Motor Enclave is now open for laps. 3,000 acres to work with, easy distance from Atlanta or Jacksonville, Bob Barnard's design work, and Phil Hill's endorsement? What could have possibly gone wrong in Cobbtown, Georgia? The Victory Lane project, as it was known, was an ambitious early attempt at an extreme luxury racing community in Tadernal County, Georgia. Headed by Patrick Costello, a real estate developer out of Colorado, the plans for the former Beaver Creek Plantation property included an 18-hole golf course, stocked fishing lakes, a spa, luxury homes, an equestrian center, a private airport with a 5,400-foot runway, and, of interest to us, a 4.5-mile road course. This was to be a private gated community comprised of about 120 estates surrounding the centerpiece racetrack, with the main straight doubling as a runway for private aviation. As of 2007, there were commitments on about 1/3 of the properties, and some alleged links to country music star Alan Jackson and serial aviation enthusiast, among other things, John Travolta. The development got as far as clearing all of the government hurdles and had started grading out the layout for what Bob Barnard described as one of the safest circuits in the world, as he was able to leverage the vast acreage available to avoid the need for very many walls. The layout would have followed the natural topography and mirrored the rolling dunes of the area. So what went wrong? Well, that would be the 2008 financial crisis once again, that just happened to center around real estate. I can't say for sure, but I suspect that the project's funding evaporated. At the same time, the target demographic no doubt got cold feet about the prospect of investing money in another house. Today, the closest you can get to a lap of Victory Lane in Cobbtown would be a round of golf at the Ohoopee Match Club that now operates on part of the old site. And so that is the 5th track for which failure was unfortunately definitely an option. We hope you enjoyed this one. It's always kind of interesting to go back and look at what could have been in these cases. As much fun as I have going and driving, primarily going and actually driving tracks that are open, and also kind of researching or exploring abandoned tracks like Augusta International, for example. It's definitely kind of fun to go and dig through and see what people thought of that just never quite made it off paper, or that was painfully close to being open, as was the case with Bluegrass. To see what could have been, maybe even ideas for people or inspiration for people to kind of like try again in some cases. But with that said, again, we hope you enjoyed the video, found it informative if not entertaining. If you did, please drop a like down below, pretty please. Comment with any projects or aborted projects that we missed that you know of. Don't forget to subscribe, and otherwise, thanks again for watching. I'm Richard, this is Lap of the World, and we'll see you all in the next video, if not at the track.